Good day, Junior Tickies. We are going to look at activity-free bank reconciliation. Now, before we're going to start with this activity, we are just going to go through the basics again. From our perspective, and that from the bank's perspective. Remember, bank reconciliation, the balance of our bank account must be the same as the balance on the bank statement. So now, if it's not the same, we need to reconcile. So from our perspective and from the bank's perspective, a favorable balance will appear on the debit side in our bank account and on the bank statement on the credit side. Unfavorable balance in our books on the credit side and from the bank's perspective on the debit side on the bank statement. Any receipts, any money received will appear on the debit side. Any deposits made will appear on the credit side on your bank statement. If we look at payments, all payments will appear on the credit side in our books, and on the bank statement, it will always appear on the debit side. So we are comparing our debit side of our bank account with the credit side of the bank statement. We compare our credit side in our books, in our bank account, with the debit side on the bank statement. In this activity, we are going to add now a previous month bank recon. And what do we do with the previous bank recon? If I look at the balance according to the bank statement, we do nothing with it. This will be the closing balance at the end of last month will be the opening balance this month. So we don't use that total. If I look at outstanding deposit, outstanding EFT, there was a credit correction of error. We need to compare it with the bank statement of this month. Do not record it in the journals of the current month. We now need to check with the bank statement, does it now appear yes or not? No. And if it doesn't appear, we need to look at the additional information to find out what do we need to do with it. The balance as per bank account, this is a question mark, and you will see in exam papers and in tests. This is quite often a question mark where you need to calculate that. What do we do with that? That will be the opening balance in the bank account in our books before we update the CRJ and CPJ. And I'm going to show you a little bit later on how exactly do we calculate that question mark. So now that we've revised and we looked at what do we do with the previous bank recon, we can now move forward completing the activity. Looking at this activity, analyze the information B and complete the table in your answer book. Indicate the amount to be debited or credited in either the bank account or in the bank reconciliation statement. Then calculate the closing balance per bank account and explain the purpose of bank recon. Now, just a reminder what I said in the previous activities. I'm going to expose you into the different ways in which bank recon can be asked. Don't get used to just a fixed way of completing a CRJ, then a CPJ, then doing the bank account, and then doing the bank recon. There are different ways in which bank reconciliation can be tested. So please make sure that you expose yourself and practice all the different ways it can be done. Now looking at the information A. We need to calculate the balance as per bank account. So we can do this on a T account, and we are going to take everything that appears on the credit side on the bank statement. We are going to take it to the credit side of the T account. Everything that appears on the debit side, we're going to put on the debit side. And then we're simply going to balance this account by taking the debit side minus the credit side. And the difference, that 31,723, is the balance on the credit side as per bank account. And if it appears on the credit side, it means it's an unfavorable bank balance in our books. Looking at information B, we're now going to go through all the transactions and we are going to make a note of what is it exactly what we need to do with each one of those transactions. So if I start with the first one, the bank statement was debited with the following amounts. Service fees, 310. This will go into the CPJ as bank charges. EFT payment 892 for 3,500 appeared twice on the bank statement. It means it was a mistake by the bank. We will need to take it to the reconciliation statement. Transaction number 2, a stop order for 800 in respect of insurance paid to ABS Insurers was cancelled on 31 December 2021. Now, before we continue, what is a stop order? A stop order is an instruction to the bank that a fixed amount must be deducted from my account. Now, they say the amount was erroneously entered in the cash payment journal during the January 2021. What do we need to do? We need to correct this in the CRJ because we've incorrectly recorded it in the CPJ and that money will not be deducted from our account because we cancelled it in December and the current month is January. Number 3, the bank statement reflected interest on a debit balance 200. Debit balance on the bank statement means this is interest on overdraft and must go into the CPJ. Transaction number 4. The bookkeeper forgot to enter the EFT to Nordea Enterprises 9,600 for the monthly rent. So this must go to the CPJ as rent expense. Transaction number 5, an EFT payment to Solitrader in settlement of our account of 5,200 was not recorded. It means we've omitted it. We need to add it in our CPJ and this will be creditors control. Looking at transaction number 6, 7, a deposit of 6,732 appeared in the bank statement but not in the cash receipts journal for January. Number 7, an EFT 876, 880 and 888 does not or does reflect on the bank statement for January. So from the previous bank recon, we are simply going to tick it off. It should not appear in our journals for this month. So we're just going to tick it off and show that it does now appear on the bank statement, so we do nothing with it. So for number 8, the error made by the bank during December 2021 was corrected during the January 2021. So it means that again, the mistake that was made by the bank, they've now corrected it. We are going to tick it off on the previous bank recon and we are going to do nothing with it in this month because it does now appear correctly on the bank statement. The bank did correct it. Transaction number 9, a debit order to Fix Insurers Limited for 6,000 includes 2,500 for the owner's private vehicle. Debit order means an instruction to a third party that an amount may be deducted from your account. So with this transaction, this was directly paid from our bank account, so we need to show it in our CPJ, insurance and drawings. Anything that the owner takes for personal use must be recorded as drawings. Transaction number 10. The following information in the January 2021 cash journals did not appear on the bank statement for January 2021. This means it's not reflecting on the bank statement, but we've recorded it in our books. This means we need to take both to the recon. Completing our answer booklet, we are now going to look at all the transactions which we've already sorted out where we need to take what, and we are going to indicate it on the answer booklet. So number 1A, we had the bank charges, 310. Please take note, you don't need to write the account name involved. I just did it for revision purpose. Transaction number B, mistake by the bank, so it needs to go to the recon, 3,500 on the credit side because they've incorrectly debited our account. Transaction number 2, 800, debit bank account. Why debit? If the cash receipts journal, from the cash receipts journal, bank is always debited. From the cash payment journal, bank is always credited. Transaction number 3, CPJ, it means the bank account will be credited with 200. Transaction number 4, CPJ, which means the bank account credited 9,600. And transaction number 5, an EFT in the CPJ means the bank account will be credited 5,200. Transaction number 6, do nothing, so we just make a tick. Transaction number 7, do nothing, so we just make a tick or a cross. Transaction number 8, do nothing. The mistake was corrected by the bank, so we are just going to tick it off, so no entry. Transaction number 9 in the CPJ. CPJ means bank account will be credited with 6,000. Transaction number 10A, outstanding deposit will appear on the credit side on your bank statement, so in the bank reconciliation on the credit side. And transaction number B, an EFT, will appear on the debit side on your bank statement, so in your bank recon it will appear on the debit side. Now the question only asks to calculate the bank account, the totals, so we are going to total the debit and the credit side after we've completed all the transactions. So to calculate the bank account balance, a reminder, right in the beginning, I said to you, from the previous bank recon, we have to work out the balance as per bank account, and that will be our opening balance. If it appears in our books on the credit side, it means it is an unfavorable bank balance. Now, when it's asked in this format, just calculate the bank account balance. You don't need to do a T account. You can just plus or minus. I prefer doing a T account as if I would have completed the bank account. So on the credit side, I'm going to have the opening balance, 31,723. The total cash receipts was 297,311. Please take note, I'm not writing any details because they didn't ask me to complete it, calculating the bank account in the general ledger format. This is just a T account to show my workings. You just need to make sure that it appears on the correct side of the account. The total payments were 285,250. So my new balance, take the debit minus the credit, is an unfavorable balance, 19,670. Now this question isn't part of the activity. I'm going to add it as an additional question. If I were to ask you to calculate the balance as per bank statement after taking the above transactions into account. So we need to look at everything that we've done. So if I've got the bank reconciliation and the bank account, the table format that we've already completed, I've got the balance, I've got the previous month bank reconciliation, and I've got the balance as per bank account, what we've calculated in the previous question. I'm going to start with the outstanding deposit was 17,400. Outstanding EFT, we've got from the previous bank recon, there was still an outstanding EFT of 3,040, and we've got 8,800 in this month. There was the correction, 3,500, and the balance as per bank account, as it appears in our books, it will appear on the bank recon. Now that we've done all of that, we can total it and take the debit side minus the credit side, or the credit side minus the debit side, and you will see that the balance as per bank statement is 49,650. So that outstanding EFT of 874, we will need to investigate why is it still outstanding. The last question, briefly explain the purpose of preparing a bank reconciliation statement. I hope doing this activity would illustrate why it is important to do bank recon on a monthly basis. This is for internal control process, to ensure that all entries are captured correctly by the business and the bank. As illustrated in this activity, the bank made a mistake. We as a business made mistakes that we needed to correct. To prevent any fraud or theft, or to detect any fraud or theft. You would also notice that there is still outstanding EFTs, and now we can investigate what is the reasons for those EFTs that is still outstanding and is not reflecting. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this activity. In our next activity, we are going to focus on how do we record transactions directly in the bank account without doing a CRJ and a CPJ. I want to leave you with this quote: success is the sum of all efforts repeated day in and day out. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye.